Now this is the model, the hard plastic brain model that I think is the best one to start when you're learning the cranial nerves. If you look close at this model, you're going to see that it's upside down with the spinal cord coming out the top. So if I say something's inferior and I point up, don't freak out. The biggest landmark that I think that you should recognize when you on this model when trying to identify the cranial nerves is the pons. Okay, the pons is this big bump right here. Okay, this big bump right here. And if I pull this brain out and look at it, I've got this big bump being the pons right here. Okay, there's a line above the pons, and then there's a line below the pons. All right, and it's really easy to identify. Now, when you start looking at this model to identify the nerves, you should group the nerves, divide the list up into a few separate groups. Okay, this is how I do it. I group them like this: 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, learn them like that. That's how they're anatomically grouped on the model. So let's look at it. The first two are right here. The first one is this big long stick. This is the olfactory bulb. I'm not going to tell you the names of all of these things. What this video is for is so you can recognize the numbers on here, which is which on here. Then when you memorize the list, all right, learn the list, and then when you come to the test, when you see one of these things, you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's what it is. So the first one is right here, 1. The second one is right here, 1, 2. So first one, and then number 2 is right behind it. Okay, the third one is the hardest one to see. Okay, it starts almost at the medial line, right above the pons. Okay, and it's right in this little nook right here. I'm going to pull this out, and it's right here. This guy right here. All right, starts right above the pons. When you see it on the test, it's going to the model on the test is probably going to look like this. Just look right under the pons, and that's number 3. Number 4 is this long wire that starts from the side and comes in medially. It's this long wire. And then 5 is this stump right here. It looks like a little tree trunk. Okay, so we've got 1, 2, then 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, and 8 start below the pons, and they go from medial to lateral. So we go 6, 7, and 8. Okay, on the other side, 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11, and 12 all start below the pons. Okay, you'll see a bunch of wires here coming out below the pons. There's a group here, there's some wires here, and then there's these guys down here. Now if you look real closely at this set of wires coming out below the pons, this is, instead of one group of wires, this is actually 3 groups of wires. And if you look closely, there's a groove here and here. So you've got 1,